Welcome to Jollof and Fiction, home of African literature and stories, the kind that warm your heart like a fresh pot of jollof. Today, you're tuning into a recorded session of our online book discussion, so sit back, relax, and join the conversation.
Welcome to Nights Like This, and apparently this is our first episode. Please indicate with an emoji if you can hear me. Okay, Precious, I can see Precious clapping. Anita, okay, well, welcome everybody. And usually on Thursdays we have book review, and we often talk about certain things and plots from the book actually, but I figured we need to do more than just talk about the book, but literature as a whole and how its influence in our society and also as young readers. And that's why I thought to incorporate nights like this, to bring nights like this into our list of activities as a club. And on tonight's episode, I'm really glad to have Ikanke here as our guest, and interestingly, she's our first guest, first episode, and it means a lot to me and to everyone here, I guess. So let's quickly delve into tonight's theme. The theme for tonight is pluralism in literary approach among Gen Zs, engaging with opposing truth and its impact on young readers' perspective. So before I begin talking, I'll just briefly introduce Ikanke. So for those who don't know, I would know. I think I met Ikanke first. I think that was like 4 years ago. Was it 4 years ago? I can't remember. Ikanke, was it 4 years or 5 years? I think it's 4 years. Yeah, I was invited to a concert to come recite a poem. And after I recited the poem, I came down and Ikanke walked up to me and said, "I loved your piece. How old are you?" I remember this vividly because it was very weird. You're meeting someone for the first time and asking how old the person is. And I was thrown off. I did not really expect that. At least you should first ask for my name. But then I'm not really one to hide my age. So I think at the time I was 23. It was like 4 years ago. So I was 23. So I just stood at 23 and she was like, ouch. I eventually found out that I think she was a radio host for a certain teenage program. And so she was hoping I would be a teenager. So she would feature me on the program. So when I blew her bubbles by telling her I was 23, she just said, ouch, walked away. Then came back again and asked for my number. And I think our friendship has taken on various forms since that time till now. And Ikanke has a very brilliant mind. She's one person, if I want to chew on a thought or I want to hear opinion on something, I immediately get on a call with her. What do you think about this? And a lot of times I think I'm grateful to the fact that we often have opposing views about certain things. Sometimes I want to hear her opinion to know how well I believe something. Just hearing her talk, I just know this, what she just said, I spoke the whole in what I believe in, and then I'll just go back and do a lot more research on that. So I think that's something I'm grateful for, and I feel everyone should have friends like Ikanke. So yeah, welcome Ikanke. Do you want to say anything, Ikanke? Maybe say anything to the house?
Yes. So I just want to say hi Lambent, by the way. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. And hi Barnabas. Hi everybody. I think that I had a failed stint, with Jollof and Fiction earlier this year, I believe. Nabas really tried to support me. My staying in the group where I failed, I flunked, and I was sent out. I was expelled from Jollof and Fiction, but I'm back now, as a reformed, ex-student. And honestly, it's so great. I love everything really of Jollof and Fiction. It's so great to see you guys, in quotes, here. And I'm looking forward to what today's session is going to be like. I've actually been really looking forward to this, honestly. Like, I finished work and this was the only thing I could think about. So yeah, nice to be here, guys.
All right, it's nice to have you too. Yeah, and also this is just a side thought. From Akwa Ibom. You are from Akwa Ibom. For the sake of those who don't know the meaning of your name, could you at least tell us the meaning of your name?
Actually, this is really interesting because when I tell people what my name means these days, right? I say Ikanke-Abasi. It means nothing conquers God. But the first person to phrase it like that was Nabas. So Lucky, Nabas, has been a part of the definition of my name. I used to say Ikanke-Abasi means it's not bigger than God, but I think Nabas gives such a great twist. So I that's why I tell people now my name is nothing conquers God. It's true. So yeah, that's it.
Oh wow, impressive. So that's what you tell people now. Interesting. Oh, I'm honored. Thank you. All right, guys, you heard it there. Allow me give your names meaning. All right. So yeah, on the concept of pluralism, I've had a lot of questions since I brought the topic. Some people have asked me privately what it means or something of that sort. So before I delve right into it, I just first like to lay the foundation. Our current culture has done a lot to convince people that there is no such thing as absolute truth, and I think they did that for a reason, because over time we've realized that truth has been like a social construct of by those who are in authority. Truth is what they want you to believe. Those in power, what they want you to believe. So at every point in time, it's almost like what is true is what is being told to you by those who are in power. So society unconscious have been pushing to the fact that there is no such thing as absolute truth. What might be true to this sect of people might not be true to the other sect of people. Do you understand? And so there's the whole idea of pluralism, more than one truth. And as young readers, I think we've had to interact with authors who have different views, different ideologies, and who are of different values than us. I know a friend particularly who doesn't read books that are about queer people. Do you understand? He doesn't read books by queer authors or centered around queer people. And I know another friend who thinks that friend is being shallow and narrow-minded because he chooses not to read books by those kind of people. And I think several times we've had issues around this as a club, and that's why I thought to bring it up as the first episode. Because one time I sent a book to the club, and then somebody outrightly said he was not reading it, that it's about queer people and it's not in line with his beliefs and truth. And I was like, but this guy is a good author. Do you understand? Like, we can read and not find a way to draw the line. Do you understand? And then I realized, am I asking him to bend his beliefs? Do you understand? If he says he doesn't want to, what's the line? Where do we draw the line and say, okay, it's fine if you don't want? Would you be called narrow-minded or shallow? And the whole idea of, okay, let's appreciate art for what it is. I think we've had these arguments before where I told you that sometimes we want to also have a glimpse to the life of the author and know, okay, so to help us better understand the artwork. And then you were telling me that sometimes the art can't explain itself, and sometimes it was a whole argument we had that night. I can't really remember the details, but it's been a long time ago, if you can. So that brings me to the first subject, which is like a two-part questions. And it's like, the first is, how do African authors use conflicting perspectives to reflect the complexity of society? Second one is, can a story still be powerful and valid even if the reader doesn't agree with the truth it presents? And now here's how it's going to be. So after Ikanke speaks on a particular subject, if you have anything to ask or say or add to what she said, you just indicate with the raise of hand and I'll let you speak. There are about 4 segments, and this is like there are about 5, yeah, and this is like the first one, and this is the first question I just asked now. This particular segment highlights, just give me a minute, please. Authors often present contrasting truths, not to confuse but to illuminate broader realities. And so the question, like I asked earlier, is, how do African authors use conflicting perspectives to reflect the complexity of society? Can a story still be powerful and valid even if the reader doesn't agree with the truth it presents? So yeah, Ikanke, I'd like to hear your thoughts on that. And if anybody has any thoughts, like I said, just indicate with a raise of hand. Thank you. I might not be chance to be reading the chat box every so often, so you can do well to indicate with a raise of hand and I'll call you to speak. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Nabas. Thanks everyone again. So I'm really excited. I can't lie. Like there is no other place I can say, okay, let's discuss pluralism, with other people. So it's great. All right. So to get straight to the point, to the question, how do African authors use conflicting perspectives to reflect the complexity of society? Interesting. So I think fiction, I think, is very central, right, to your book club. Obviously, it's Jollof and fiction. And something that is unique about fiction is that very rarely, right, will you find a story that presents its beliefs in a way as to convict you, right? Especially like if the story is told well. Like if you read, okay, let's look at like very popular examples, like Purple Hibiscus, for instance. Chimamanda is not trying to convince anybody that she's right. There is no purity to the way she's painting a particular religion, for instance. She isn't saying, well, that Catholicism is bad. Yeah, I love Purple Hibiscus, by the way. Classic. Anyway, she's not saying that this thing is bad. She's not explaining. She's not very outrightly coming out to say. It's not like non-fiction, right, where it's less vague. People are more direct about the specific positions they're on. There can be a lot of that, but a story is a story, right? It's a narration of events that happened. And something that I think, like now to the question, how African writers portray this is that we see, like even like books where you have different perspectives from different people, down to the words they use, the rhythm, their perspective on life, right? You can see how writers often try to separate the perspectives of the characters, right? Characters have whole personalities, have whole ideologies, and more importantly, have motives, like different motives behind the reason that they say things or they do things. And I think, these different perspectives is like a way, or the fact that characters are different, right, is one way that writers show different perspectives, right? Also, there is just the fact that the narrative is what convinces you. So this is why I feel that when it comes to pluralism, it really is your own personal, and that's why I think I appreciate fiction the way I do. It really is your own personal dialogue or conflicts or arguments with the words in the book. Because again, like I said, sure, books can have an agenda, sometimes, but I think the best of books really allow you to come to your own conclusions, right? Which is good literature. And yeah, so it really is you painting. So they're painting like a full picture of what's happening, and then you get to decide. So yeah, so yeah, like you're coming from an angle that is in opposition to what they're saying. Like you're already just angry, or you're already just pissed, or you're already just negating what give you any points. Why? Because they're already put off by your. So yeah, I don't think that messaging is as powerful when it's something that you don't agree with, right? If it's like you don't agree with the person's actions, is different, or you don't agree with what somebody did. But if the whole point of the story is, in opposition to what it is that you believe, or very directly, challenging what you believe, it's really hard, I think, for people to pay attention. Is my point. Sorry, by the way, just to add, so this is different from when books challenge the way that you think, right? It's like, for instance, like your Bible or a sermon, right? Where somebody has clearly evidence that actually this is a better way to look at something, it's a better way to view something, right? As opposed to like a direct challenge. So I feel like when things come from that perspective, when it's different in a way that convicts you, right, then surely. But if it's in a way that does not convict you, it can't have any effect. So I think where the line lies is on conviction. Are you convinced? If you're convinced, then it can be really powerful. If you're not, then nah. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. So I think then you would that my friend who doesn't read books by certain authors, that or books that center on certain themes. He doesn't read books on certain things. So I think even if we forced him to read a book and then we come back to say, oh, I think this book was really good. From what you said, I don't think he would share in that, because in a sense, or maybe someone else can speak, because I've never really read a book where I don't really agree with the truth. Because for me, for a book to be powerful, for me, I say, oh, this book was so powerful, shared in the book. Do you understand? There are books that I can count from, like, really been in that spot where, and I think that's also because I am also careful what I read. Do you understand? I might not admit it as well, but I'm not so in tune with all this pluralism thing and accommodating. I think I've even discussed it with you so at some point. I don't really accommodate. So the most I've done is maybe suggested some kind of books by queer authors to the club once in a while or so, but I'm not really in tune with it. And in a sense, I think I've not really had that experience where I call a story powerful, even though I don't agree with the truth that the writer communicates in the story. So yeah, please, anybody has anything to say about this before we proceed to the next question? If you do, just kindly raise your hand, and in a few minutes you can speak. Okay, so since there's nobody, I'll just proceed to the next question. So now the next theme now is the value of engaging with opposing perspectives. Exposure to opposing truth foster empathy, intellectual maturity, and critical thinking. Now, I mentioned how a lot of times I have an idea in my mind, or I have an opinion a thought I'm trying to build on. I want to hear somebody who doesn't agree with it, so I'll know what is lacking in that thing that I believe in. Do you understand? And Ikanke and I don't want to say opposing, but in a way, a lot of times our views on some things can be opposing. I'll just use the word opposing. We agree on certain things, but then I think I don't want to dabble into the other parts because they were more scriptural things or so. And then I would call her, and then we'll talk. And then somehow what she would tell me would just poke holes on my belief like a balloon. And then suddenly I realized that, I don't really believe this thing as much as I think I do. I don't really have facts for this. And recently there was an argument on the club, and then I realized, okay, I don't really have facts for these things. Do you understand? And I would have known that I don't have enough facts for this if I did not engage with this truths that opposed my own belief. Do you understand? So there's the fact where we are careful to not read books by people who do not who share truth we do not resonate with. But there's also that place where we at some point need to stretch out a bit and read this book. So this whole concept, this whole subject now is on engaging with this truth, and it's what it does to your mind. And from what we highlighted, good thinking. So now the question here goes is, why do you think engaging with opposing perspective? But I've already stated that one. Okay, now this one is already directly to you now, because I just realized I answered the first question. But in case you have anything to say about that as well, I mentioned how by while engaging with opposing truth, we've realized that the things we claim we believe in, we do not really have that much fact to back it up. So I think that's one of the things that engaging with opposing truth does to your mind. It proves the things you think you believe in. Do you understand? Which is a good thing. I mean, if you've never had your faith tested or your beliefs tested, I can't really say you're fit to live. I can't really say that you're fit to do life in a sense, because life will test everything you have known. I was telling somebody, if you've ever been in life where you ask yourself, what am I really doing in my life? Where am I going to? How old am I? I'm almost hitting 30, and what am I doing in my life? I think if you've never reached that point in your life where some of your beliefs are questioned, some of your ideas are questioned, you will not be stalwart. Do you understand? You will not have that firm foundation where you've been tested, where the rain has come and everything has come and beat down your house, and yet it's still standing. So now the second question to you, Ikanke, is, have you ever encountered a book that deeply conflicted with your beliefs but still influenced your thinking? And how do you process that tension?
Thank you very much. I thought about something. So this is the thing. I feel that when I think about this book, I wouldn't say it challenges. So that's the thing. It more like it informed my belief, right? Because I don't think that, at least for me, I don't think that somebody explaining what they think about or what all, like someone explaining why they think something or why they believe something is necessarily a challenge to what I believe, because I'm still going to believe what I believe, right? So it's more like understanding them helps to inform what I believe. So challenging something that's really challenged my belief, I wouldn't know, but I'd say something that really informed it, right? Was Chimaka Garrix's book, A Broken People's Playlists. Very specifically, because he has different stories, right? Very specifically, the story about there was a story in it about cultism. I'm not going to spoil it for anybody, right? So there was something in it about cultism, right? And how people joined cults, fraternities in university. And I think the protagonist of that specific story was someone that was involved in that, and a friend of his had died, and all of that, and so on and so on. I vividly remember how reading that immediately made me less judgmental of people that had joined cults. I don't even know if I know anybody, right, that is in a cult or anything. But if there was there's something so human about that portrayal that just made me think, wow, like I have never ever seen this perspective in my life before. That's definitely something that happened to me, right? So I don't know whether it's very specific, just form strong ideas about things that I've never experienced, right? So that's one thing. So most times when it comes to challenging my beliefs, it's not something that a lot of books do. Where I think my beliefs are really challenged is in the day-to-day decisions that I make, right? In the people that I encounter, in where I have to uphold my thoughts or my ideologies in opposition to other people. I think that's where my real faith is tested. So, and there's something that I think I've been coming to a conclusion about, and it's the idea that sometimes open-mindedness is overrated. And I say this like completely understanding what that sounds like. And this is what I mean. So, when people say, you have to hear other people out. I think I and Barnabas have had this conversation before. I think just when he was inviting me to do this, when he was speaking about hearing other people's point of view or something. And to be honest, I don't necessarily subscribe to those things, because let's look at, for instance, if you're Christian, the Bible says you should hold fast your confession of faith. There are some things that it says that you should not give your ear to. And I think that applies like in our general lives. Like, see, there is definitely the willingness to receive what people have told you and to learn. But there are some things that I'm never, ever going to try to understand. Like, my thoughts on these things are firm and I'm just not going to give in, right? So there are some conversations I won't even try to hear or to understand. And it's not because I don't care about these people. It's just that I've already very solidly picked my position in life. And I think that's where character is built. You being able to stand very firmly on the things that you believe in. And especially right now, it's not a very popular path, I think, to take. But I think that sometimes open-mindedness is overrated, because I like to guard what I believe jealously, especially in a world like ours, right? Because the truth is, there is a tendency for you to be swayed left and right by what people are saying about what you believe. And to be honest, I like to engage. Sometimes I like to receive what it is that they say and then process it and say, okay, so do I really, this thing you've said, how does it look held up against my belief? But I'm not going to go too deeply into seeking out diverse perspectives. Like where it comes, sure, I can take it, but I'm not going to try to run into, what could be different? Because if you believe something, you're supposed to believe it. So believe it, Definitely not against correction or always, my ear is always open to hear what somebody thinks. Like if my friend is coming to tell me this, but I won't take, like something I don't take advice from everybody. Even good sounding advice on my Instagram, I agree with you. I will not follow your page. Like Diary of a CEO, for instance, great, but I'm not going to be listening to it. I know there are precious gems there. I don't need to be getting so much information and so many opinions from so many people, right? So it's best to just have there are these people that I take advice from, these people that I trust, people that I know, people that I meet on a day-to-day, but to just have my mind open to just receive anything from anybody, I don't do it. So yeah, those are my thoughts.
Oh, sorry, you said you don't listen to Diary of a CEO. I actually do listen to some of his episodes, and he's quite sound. But I'm not judging. I'm just saying, by the way, Sha. Okay, but I do get your point. And that thing you said about open-mindedness, I recently have been reading a book on, I think, Doors of Perception and some other books like that. And then I'm seeing things about open-mindedness, the whole concept of open-minded. And I also heard there's such a thing as empty-mindedness as well. The idea of, let me read a quote by G.K. Chesterton on that. He says, merely having an open mind is nothing. The object of opening a mind is as opening the mouth, is to shut it again on something solid.
Right. But I think it's originally from Paul Washer. So it says, we hypocritically applaud men for seeking the truth. So I think this also, you have to find the truth. And especially maybe as young, or let me put it this way. As young people, right? There's some things that we don't know a lot about, right? Like business or building a company, for instance. And you definitely want to seek out help in these areas, right? But the thing is that once you found a pathway, a value, a lifestyle that you believe in, you really do have to lock in. You really do have to decide. And the truth is that you don't need, and people say this a lot of times when it comes to parenting, but you do not need to be, they say to parents that, you don't need to be the ground to whether be the base to make your child's life hard or something, that life will already do that. So life is already going to challenge what you believe, I promise you. So it's just more about saying, okay, I'm going to stand by this thing, and whatever life throws my way, these are the sets of values. This is the code that I'm going to run my decisions by. I'm going to run my choices. I'm going to run my interaction with life by. So yeah, that's it. Thanks.
Yeah, I hear you speak now. I think I just remember what I wanted to say. I also want to talk about the concept of empty-mindedness. And as much as it may sound derogatory, it's not really derogatory. It's when somebody who claims to be open-minded eventually now encounters something he's supposed to either take in or just throw aside, but he chooses not to believe it. He chooses not to accept it, even when fact has been provided to the person. So at that point, such person is termed to be empty-minded, because you have chosen to refuse. After saying you're open-minded, then you eventually didn't even take in anything. You are, I think agnostics fall into this category. Sorry to say, people who are uncertain, do you understand? In fact, they fall into this category. So there's open-mindedness and there's empty-mindedness. So I recently just read about these things like a couple of days ago, as prior to this particular discussion to have. So the next question now is, the next thing we're going to discuss is Gen Z and more. Oh, sorry, I to the club. If you have a question or anything to add to what Ikanke said, anybody? Okay, so believing there is none, now just proceed to the next part. Okay, Malik, you can go ahead and speak.
Hi, hello. I heard I heard her say open-mindedness is overrated. I I need more clarification. Close-mindedness is underrated. So if she could explain some more of regards.
So yes, closed-mindedness is underrated. I honestly, it took me a while to get here because like if you had asked me maybe like 8 months ago, at the beginning of this year even, I told you yes, we have to be open-minded and receive this and receive that. I don't believe that anymore. Open-mindedness is it's really about balance, and that's about like a lot of things in this life, right? It's about balance. That's an open-minded. Sorry, I'm going to sound like one of those crazy podcasters or whatever. So let me just calm down. The idea is that nobody wants to learn how to live in balance anymore. So it's either self-love, stand up for yourself, or you're all for the community. There's middle ground that we're all supposed to do. People need to learn how to toe the middle ground. There is such a thing as being too open-minded, and there is such a thing as being too close-minded. But to be honest, I would rather veer towards close-mindedness than open-mindedness, just because the whole idea is that, let me get you the dictionary definition of open-minded. So, open-minded means, but even the idea of prejudice means that there's already some vantage points, not really vantage in this sense, more like a position in your values that you're operating from that paints or colors the way that you see the world. And to be honest, if you're saying that you're a person of character, if you're saying that you are even an adult for yourself, that's what it means to be principled. You're gathering, but there are things that you be. For instance, right? Somebody was telling me the other time about how you understand with people that are that maybe are doing internet fraud stuff. I say they are doing internet fraud stuff. They're doing internet fraud, right? They're internet fraudsters. Anyway, so those people from this, feels like they have to do something like that, but it is wrong. Do you understand? I'm not going to embrace or sit or be complacent with a fact like that or with stuff like that because I want to be empathetic or because I want to be free of prejudice. I do have prejudice, and we all have prejudice. And it's not always, sometimes it's colored as something that is a mental vindictive person. But no, in the picture, see, there's a picture that open-mindedness paints, right? And it's impossible to be that person. That, you're just, open. I'm just willing to consider this fact that I don't believe in. If I don't believe in should be gay, I have to stand on my principle. You can disagree with that, and that's fine. It doesn't mean that I hate these people. It just means that this is what I believe. This is how I'm going to function in my life. That's what makes me myself. That's what makes me have principles. If not, I'm just floating. I literally have no standing. I'm just everywhere because I have refused to come down on one specific thing and agree and say, okay, this is who I am. This is what I stand for. If you stand for nothing, you will fall for everything. So how do you stand for things? By not being as open-minded as people think you should be. So that's my thought. So you can definitely agree with me. See, I'm open-minded. I'm willing to accept that you can disagree, but this is what I think. Thank you.
Okay, I do need that answers your question, but she has already said you can either agree with her or, or not. But thank you very much, Ikanke. I think there's someone asked the question in the chat box. Anita, reality also when to stand up for something or outright opposite. I don't know if she Ikanke has answered your question already, Anita, but if she hasn't, just raise your hand. Can Anita hear me? Sorry. Is Anita in his meeting? Okay, so that means
us to know it. It's, for instance, how we can say, oh, I'm an introvert, but you can really do extroverted things in the right place. So it's the same thing. So that's not being neutral. It's being balanced. And when we're even talking about pluralism, this is a great place that says this: contain multitudes. We are full, and it's why I hate descriptors. I hate people saying things like, "Oh, this kind of person, I am an ENTJ, or I'm an extrovert." When we try to put ourselves, like, life isn't smooth like that. You cannot put yourself into a box like that. Why? Because you don't fit. We can be many things at many times to many people. We can be good, we can be evil, we can be closed-minded, we can be open-minded. It all depends. And these are not things that I mislead. Like a bad thing. It's time. There's some people, see, some of us are so close-minded to certain things. It's like selective hearing. There are some things, Tinubu can stand up and speak for 2 hours on his knees crying. You would not care. Why? Because you already don't want to hear what you say, because you don't rate him. Exactly. So it's the same thing. There really is to listen, when to not listen, when to, love, when to withhold your love, when to trust, when to withhold your trust. We all do it. And that's what life is really about. So yeah, those are my thoughts.
All right. Thank you very much. So I think for this particular segment, and we'll just take from Tehila, then we'll go back to the next one. Tehila can speak briefly. Thank you.
Thank you. I just wanted to say that to the question you asked about if a book can alter or poke at your belief, if it can change your mind, I just wanted to say that it can change my mind personally. And I have read books that changed my beliefs. Something, people that know me know that I can be quite rock solid on my belief. As a matter of fact, I think I was born, or my natural innate personality is very much more tilted to the closed-mindedness than the open-mindedness. So being open-minded, hearing other people's perspective and seeing things from their perspective, it's something I had to imbibe. I had to consciously culture myself into doing. If I were asked what my natural habitat or state is, it would be a state of closed-mindedness. So I'm not an easy person to change their mind, I would say. So when I read that particular book, and it's almost as if it leapt out of the pages and hit me, and actually succeeded in altering a certain belief I had. I think it was either about money or about one of them. Either about money or about work ethics. But it changed the belief so much so that I no longer think that way anymore. Someone rightly said you would have better luck, you'd have city in every suburb, in every area, than you would have in changing a man's mind. To penetrate someone's mind and alter a certain ideology they have is work, is a big deal, and it's not easy to achieve. So, especially for my kind of person. So I read that book and it did something to me, and it caused me to see from that perspective. And then I compared the two, the one I previously had and the new one that I was being offered on a platter. And I realized that, okay, this person's own is better. He's actually correct. and then I imbibed it. So I think that yes, African literature, fiction, novels can indeed poke at your beliefs if you let them. But you can be reading, just like I really love the example Ikanke just gave, that there is somebody that is speaking, you don't want to hear what they're saying. So if you let them, they can. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. Because I'm saying as much. I don't know when people say they read a book and it doesn't really shake things they believe in. I don't know if have you watched a movie where there's an emotional scene and you're crying. You know this is not real. This was just acting. But then you just find tears running down your eyes. Your subconscious mind does not know that this thing is not real. That same thing happens when you're reading. Do you understand? Something is happening in your mind and you unconsciously do not know. I usually make this analogy sometimes. There are songs I know now, secular songs I know. I know the lyrics line to line. I've never really played them on my phone. Or just hearing them in barbing saloons. My neighbor is playing them. I know the lines. I know what comes after that. Which means that as much as I said I was not listening, my mind was listening. My mind was picking up things. So when I read a book, even as much as I say I want to read it passively, I know that my mind is interacting with something. And I believe that's why my friend who says he doesn't read books by queer authors, he's conscious of the fact that people extrude their reality into their works. Do you understand? So whether or not, I'm going beyond the letters now to an energy, a consciousness. Do you get? So as much as you're reading, you're interfacing with things. Do you understand? You are interacting with the writer's world, his words. Somehow, something latches onto you. Do you understand? You are never the same. Do you get? When a book, my friend and I were having a discussion one time, we're talking about when a book touches you. It's quite funny. But anyway, I said I was not going to take any question. I mean, when I go to the next segment, I'll just take another question from Mokut and Precious. So now my next question, Ikanke, is: do you think Gen Z readers are more open to conflicting perspective because of exposure? Like, because currently now we have a lot of things we're exposed to. People are watching TikTok, Instagram, several things now. There are so many platforms now. I feel that they are. I think at this point now, knowledge is increasing in its measure. Do you understand? I wanted to quote something from scripture now, but it's fine. So my question is: do you think Gen Z readers are more open to conflicting perspective because of this exposure, or they will be more resistant? What are your thoughts? And the second question, so the two-part, you just answer: how can young readers cultivate openness to multiple truths without losing their critical lens? I think this question I asked initially is somewhat contradictory, but anyway, if you can find a way around it so we can draw a line, I'd appreciate. So first one, do you think Gen Z readers are more open to conflicting perspectives because of this exposure, or more resistance? How can young readers cultivate openness to multiple truths without losing their critical lens?
All right. So there's something called an echo chamber, right? It's a really, really interesting phenomenon, that social media, I think, has brought on. So it's the idea that the things that, because of how tailored digital media is, the things that you see on your For You page is one of two things. So it's mostly stuff that already confirms what you believe, right? Because you're obviously going to follow people that you like. People that you like are most likely going to be people that agree. When you keep on having content like that, it creates a kind of bias, right? For you to really think, because you're in a space where many people agree with you, right? So you really just think, so this is what is dope. So even for me, my Instagram, so I recently just uninstalled Instagram on my phone. It's not the first time, obviously, that I'm doing it. I've done this many times just because I don't like to do social media for a long time, because specifically there's just too much advice. At least the kind of social media, there's just so much going on, and again, you cannot be consuming opinions that for Gen Z. I think that's such a unique thing for us. And by the way, actually, shout out to Gen Z. I love all of us. Very, very proud. People complain about us, but I can't lie. We are very charming. I really, really, really like my generation. Very charming, hilarious, very unserious in a way that I think the whole world needs, because this world is already, going the direction that it's going. So if we can laugh while we're doing it, that's very nice. So yeah, shout out to you guys. Love you guys. So yeah, back to what I was saying. So for Gen Z and carrying opposing perspectives, there is even so that's one thing. So I was telling you about how you can, like the echo chamber thing. There's also the idea of polarization. Polarization means so funny. In this generation that we think we are so open-minded, guys, what polarization does is that it divides people. Like if you look, America is such a great case study. We have the liberals and the Democrats that believe some of what the other people believe, right? They don't agree with everything that their own side says, but they stick. Why? Because it has weaponized opinions. Like that's one thing that social media has done. Opinions are now weaponized. So what you believe, the party that you vote for or whatever says something about you. So your ideas, because that's what social media really trades on, people's ideas. That's like it's currency in a way, or it's blood, it's lifeblood in a way. Ideas, thoughts, opinions. Places like Twitter for writing. People really can't have anything in common with them. If the person, do you understand? This person is the enemy. So that's how people are trained. So in this context, you really think, okay, because of how, there's the whole progressive movement or whatever, but as we are even pushing for people to be more, quote, open-minded, people are actually more closer than they think. Why? Because the fact that you're open-minded, right, or you actually support LGBTQ, and it automatically means that there are a group of people that you are against. So that's what it means. So even you saying, I'm part of the let's be open-minded movement, you have things that you're, so it means that, if I'm part of that, there are things that I automatically don't like. That's number one. The second thing I wanted to point out is this. So the question you asked me about multiple truths, I do not believe there's such a thing. Because if it is, then it's not the truth is the truth. I believe in one truth, a single truth. I definitely believe in multiple experiences, right? Multiple realities. But I feel like there's some, maybe I should put it like this. People definitely have experiences that are true to them. That's sure. That's definitely true. But I think that in our response or in your own particular belief about this situation, you cannot believe two things. If not, you don't believe anything. Do you get? It's like, for instance, you can't believe that God is good and God is evil. Because if you're good, you can't be evil. So there are some truths like that I think that people have to understand, that there can't just be one thing. If not, there's nothing. I'm so sorry. I feel like I'm stepping people's toes. Yeah, but it's true. It's true for me, right? So you can believe something else, but so that's just my thoughts. The idea of multiple truths can be so fuzzy. Let's call it that. So how can young readers cultivate openness to multiple truths without losing their critical lens? So this is how I do it. The truth is that, or maybe when we talk about multiple truths in this perspective, it's more like different people believe different things are true to them. How do you live with that? So the truth is, every time I get somebody's opinion, right, is never, how do I explain it? It's just a fact. It's just something that I've heard. So when I'm forming my own opinion, or when I'm living through life and I have to analyze any given position, I can make that decision looking at all the different perspectives that I've ever had in my life. And then I pick the one that I believe, or I pick the one that strengthens my decision, the one that I think is more plausible. Everything I hear and everything, and this is including things I hear in church, things I hear from my parents, things I hear from my friends, is information that I use to make the ultimate decision, right? And I don't think that there is, and let me put it this way, there is definitely immense value, right, even in that information that you get. There really is, right? But at the same time, it's important that we don't become slaves to constantly pursuing, what does this person think about it? Maybe I should be a little more open-minded. Sorry, let me not put it like that, like I'm shaming open-mindedness. It's just that, it's not information. So you just keep, just for information's sake, I just keep on receiving what people are telling me. You have to come to a point where you say, okay, so this is what I decide. Anyway, guys, I really hope you guys, by the way, please, I hope I'm not offending anybody, because I need you guys to bring me back. I need you guys to invite me back here. Sorry. Thanks.
It's fine, Ikanke. I don't think you stepped on anybody's toes yet. Okay, so I think I hope this meeting gives us extra like 5 minutes or so. That doesn't log us out. But anyway, Moko, do you want to say something? You can speak now. Maybe in the next 30 seconds or 1 minute, just speak. Then Precious can speak. Moko, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Quickly put down my hand because it was an accident.
Oh, okay, right. Precious, you want to say something, or was it an accident too on your end?
Yeah, I have a lot of things to say. A lot. So first of all, I don't know if I can start back from the beginning. Yeah. So please forgive me, because I'm going to start back from the beginning. So you asked the question
from the beginning. We have about, I think, it's not supposed to end by 10, but I can stretch it to 10, so it can end by 10. So can you at least just keep it brief, maybe just in few seconds, 45 seconds at most, just tell us, is it a question or a contribution?
contribution. They're all contributions.
Moment, I would appreciate if you can type the contribution in the chat box. I'll read it out for everyone to hear. But if it's a question, you can just ask now and Ikanke would answer.
I'll try to type it in the chat box, but don't worry. Fine, don't worry. I can do myself.
Sorry about that. I'm just running with time. So Ikanke, the last question now. I think this is a conversation we've had over for many young people, like in life. So now that you link and everyone joins, please. Can you all hear me? Okay, thank you very much. Okay, because I keep asking this, and what is truth? What is truth? I think the same question pilots actually realize the need to find truth for ourselves, not because I hold on to that. So for many young people, there's so many people are saying so many things. So as young people now live by, so you're using yourself as an example now. How did you arrive at this truth you're at now? And what advice would you give someone just starting out on their path of discerning truth?
That's such a good question, Abbas. Thank you. So, in Christ Jesus, what does that mean? I believe that for us, sent his son Jesus to die, be the propitiation for our sins, and whoever puts their trust, believes in him will not perish, but will live in a life that begins for us when we die, or after we die. So yeah, I was born into a Christian family. And very luckily, I've never had to, oh, actually, I was about to say that I've never had to figure out the truth for myself, but that's actually very, very, very wrong. In 2020, I stopped I stopped praying, I couldn't stop going to, I started to stop going to church actually because, we're doing lockdown. So very luckily, I guess, or somewhat for me, stop praying, stop going to church, stop reading my Bible, give up on the entire Christianity thing. And it was my own personal conviction, relationship, experience. I think that's what I'm looking for. It was my personal experience of God very easily. That was what finally led me back to quite understand what that means, how you discover what it is that I was born into, that helped me say, okay, so this is something that I believe. And it was something that I navigated, right? And even read the book, I asked, I inquired, I asked people, I challenged things against, compared to this place and that place and da. So I would say ask questions is, I think, the very first thing. It doesn't matter what religion you are, or to receiving the opinions of something. This is, after all, interrogate. Whatever life has presented to you, even things like the idea of what sort of femininity is or masculinity is like this. This is like, oh, what does this mean? What does this mean in relation to this? Or for instance, even things like gender roles, for instance. What does it mean that because I'm a woman, who invented this? Who was responsible for this? How did this come about? How were things done years ago? And I think this is why it's such a great thing that this is a conversation that's happening in the midst of readers. People that know. So reading isn't just like a pastime, obviously, as we will discover. But reading is incredibly powerful. We found that, so it's common knowledge that people that, like oppressors, right? People that colonized other countries were able to dictate the outcome up till this day, because they were very much in charge of the narrative, because they had the means to record the information the way that they chose, right? So reading is not just read history, read and continue learning back in the day, read your history, read from different sources. The truth will always come to you. I don't think that compass is something that we find. I think that what is good for us, what can assure you, and everybody. Even though I know what they're saying sounds really already with you. This is something that through, let's say, like a Christian, still be spirituality within them. Why? Because it has to be internal. If it is something that is meant to guide you through life, it's something that's meant to be innate. It's innate. You're born with it. You can decide for yourself what is right and what is not right. And to be honest, don't also be afraid of, quote, picking the wrong thing, which is something that I think happened to me a lot. And so I used to be really, really indecisive about what it is that I believe to be true, because I'm like, what if this other thing is true? What if this other thing is also true? Oh, what if I'm wrong? You can't live like that. You're just going to run mad. So what is good? What is beneficial? Right? What is most suited with like your personal conviction, like your personal compass, your inner compass, right? What, after all your questions, what seems to be the right answer? I would say that is your truth. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Ikanke. That was very, very insightful. Thank you. Anyone has any question? Can you all hear me, please? Am I audible? My speaker isn't reading, so I don't know if it's speaking sound. All right. Okay. So your chance to speak, because now when I end now, people start dragging me on the group. Okay. All right, so believing there is none. Okay, Abdul, you can go ahead and speak.
I like the idea of, let me call it, conflicting perspectives, but I feel like the discussion we're having is a little unrealistic in the sense of, well, we've already talked about how people inhabit echo chambers, which is true, but we haven't talked about how we ourselves live in echo chambers. And then we're talking about echo chambers, and we're talking about conflicting beliefs, which is, what do you believe, and then what's the inverse, right? So let's say I believe I'm a good person. There's no value in believing I'm a good person if I don't rigorously test that belief. So, but at the same time, it is uncomfortable and very time-consuming to test that belief, because it is sort of the kind of belief where you want to believe it and then it doesn't even occur to you to disbelieve it. And why are these particular kind of beliefs important? Is it beliefs? Yeah, sure. It's because, well, for one, if your siblings or your family members say you're a bad person, they misunderstand me or they have prejudice against me, there's that. And then it is insanely difficult to be open-minded to those kind of, I think, we hold. And I feel like I'm not talking about TikTok, Instagram. I'm talking about you as a person, to your family, to your friends, to your siblings, to your children, to your lovers. And those are the beliefs we really should try to challenge. Am I a good lover? It is uncomfortable. And it is hard. And we do not do it. So, I don't know if books can help. But, okay. I think time is running out, and I'll end this here. Bye.
Okay, so for the more perception of you, question those kind of perspective of you. Do you understand? Is that be clear?
Not really that one. The more identity forming belief that we hold. Like, if you really think yourself to be a very good person and you do not see yourself committing, let's say, crime at all, or cheating on your partner, or lying, or being very, and, well, you tell yourself you're not this fault unless you, confront that situation, I think. Sorry, I'm distracted somehow, so I hope you understand what I'm saying.
Thank you. Anyway, the chat room is always open after this, like the group, the club's chat room, so you can always drop messages there and follow-up thoughts from this conversation. Thank you all so much for coming. Ikanke, thank you so much for being with us tonight. I really appreciate it. I think. Does anyone have anything to say to Ikanke before we call this a night? I'm really sorry we short our time to 10 minutes or 10 minutes past 10. We're supposed to end by 10. If anybody has anything to say to Ikanke before we leave, Chiamaka, your hand is raised. Okay, sorry, you can't speak. Sorry.
Hi, everybody.
I'm just seeing it now.
Evening,
sorry.
Good evening. First of all, I have plenty of things to say, but I'm going to cut it very short. First of all, Ikanke, your voice is so nice and you're so well spoken. And I learned it. I'm so happy about that. So thank you for joining us today. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Don't forget to hit the follow button and tap on the notification icon to stay updated. That's all for today's episode. To join our book club or stay updated on future discussions, follow us on Instagram and X at Jollof Book Club, Jollof with a double F. And thank you so much for listening.